have something nuts planned, and I need a partner in crime. The B67 TV tower.
I haven't climbed since...
Becky, if you don't confront your fears, you are always going to be afraid.
Let's do it.
Today, we are talking about fall. And this movie was not really on my radar until you told me about it. I had seen it. I'd seen a trailer for it once, and I thought it looked like the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I think you sent me that trailer.
Yeah, I think it might have been like an Instagram like suggested post kind of thing, and it's just like two women stuck on the top of a radio tower, and I'm like, all right, seems like a lot of plot. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, like, I was like, okay, the trailer, like, the shots looked freaky because I am terrified of heights, but, like, also, I think it just made me angry, like, going, what the fuck kind of reasoning do these bitches have for getting on top of this goddamn thing? I just was angry just looking at it going, this isn't gonna make sense. This is gonna bother me. And I just was really irritated.
And then you texted me like, I want to say like a month later. So you're like, remember that movie you messaged me about that looked really dumb? I bought it, and it's pretty good.
I'm sorry, I had to. It was like one of those things where you're like, I'm curious, but like, how curious am I? And I think it was because I heard that people were like, this one is actually pretty effective when it came out. So I was just like, really? Okay. Wow. So I was just kind of listening. I wasn't paying attention much. But then when I saw it was available, it was also for like a cheaper price than like a normal movie. I believe it was
Yeah.
only like $10. So I was like, you know what? Worth it. And I honestly was impressed. I thought it was better than I expected, even though it was also like I was terrified the whole time.
I'm glad that you picked this movie because I actually really enjoyed it. I had the lowest expectations, but it was actually pretty good. So, I mean, we'll get into all of our thoughts, but I mean, so the budget for this movie, it came out in August 2022. Budget was 3 million, and gross worldwide it did like 17 million. So it did all right. They say a budget has to or a movie has to at least double its budget to even make its money back. So like it did okay. But it wasn't a blockbuster. But yeah, I feel like it picked up a lot more steam after theaters. Like
Mhm.
sometimes movies after they leave theaters, they just kind of go to die, and you talk about them in your little circles. I actually feel like this movie did pick up steam afterwards, and I get it. It was fun. I do kind of wish I saw this in theaters because, oh my God, on the big screen,
Yeah.
I
I don't
don't
think I could
have
have handled it.
I don't have a fear phobia, or sorry, I don't have a fear of heights.
Are you afraid of phobias, it sounds
I'm
like?
I have a fear of fear.
Yeah, I
It's
bet you
it's a
do.
it's a vicious circle.
I can't
Uh,
believe you would say that, but either way, I get it. That's why it's effective though, right?
if I saw this in theaters, I might have a serious fear of heights.
Like,
Like
it
if
gives you the feeling of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, this movie does a great job of putting you in their place, and, like, I don't know if you know how they filmed it, but, like, they basically recreated the top part of the tower. So the
Mhm.
girls were still, like, about 100 feet off the ground, but they, like, positioned it so it was like they were on top of a cliff, like, over
Yeah.
on top of a mountain, but they positioned it so it looked like they were literally that high. So I thought that was pretty cool that they still did that, and it looks way better than just having it all green screen, and you can tell because it's so obvious when they do that.
Yeah, I thought it looked great. I was actually wondering how much like green screen or like CGI was involved with it, cuz like it all looked really good, like the top views and the wide shots. I'm like,
Yeah.
this looks great. Like I was when I saw the budget was 3 million, I was like, that's kind of shocking. It looks really great for what it is. I was expecting it to suck, but
I know, I think, like, it just would have been a way different movie if they faked all of it. I mean, I know that they still obviously have to fake stuff because it's a fucking movie, but, like, it felt pretty real the whole time.
mhm.
And just as somebody with a paralyzing fear of heights, like, even from a movie with bad effects, I can get, like, the wobbly, like, the stomach drop pit in, like, the bottom of my stomach feeling, always.
Mhm.
This movie was really a piece of work because it looks so fucking real. And I think that if I would have seen it, I probably wouldn't have been able to get up afterwards if I saw it in the theater. I don't think I would have been able to move.
Call the ambulance. Like,
Yeah, literally. I don't think I could have even spoke. I probably would have been too scared because that's like people were saying that they were like, this movie makes you want like uncomfortable, like you want to look away a lot. And I
yeah.
was like, yeah, I'm doing that at home. And my God, it's just a stressful experience when I'm watching it in my bed. Like I can't
Oh,
imagine what it's like in a theater.
this just came to my head. Can you imagine if this movie had a 3D release?
Oh my God, don't even do that to me. I don't even want to picture that. No, don't give him the idea. That'll be the next fucking movie. I don't need that kind of realism.
So I'm not scared of heights, but Sarah, my wife, is, and this is not an understatement. She was traumatized by this movie. Like, I kind of wish that like we had a sponsorship from like BetterHelp, because I think she needed therapy after this movie. Like, she was uncomfortable. Like, she was cringing. She was freaking out. She's like, "Why are we watching this at night? I can't go to bed."
Yep. I know. It's legit. Like I watched this when it first came out. So for rewatching this, it's like it's been a minute. And I was just like, oh, this will be fine. I've already seen it. And literally I was like 5 minutes in, like, shit, I forgot it has an opening, just like fucking cliffhanger. And like again, then it goes, it just keeps it. The whole time you're so tense. There's
Yeah.
no fucking break. Maybe 5 minutes of transition
Yeah.
between opening scene, and that's traumatizing. But then it gets just traumatizing the entire time. Like if you don't have a fear of heights, I feel like you have it afterwards, at least a little bit, because it knows exactly what's really scary about heights and not having something to like grab onto.
Yeah. It's really effective. And effective is like the key word, because like I don't have a fear of heights, but like I had moments where I'm like, oh shit. Like, yeah, okay. I'm glad I'm not scared of this, because this would be upsetting. Like,
I mean, that's the thing. I'm like, I would never be in this scenario, but just watching it is like the most stressful thing if you are scared of heights. So I'm like, there's no reason that anybody should be up here. Like, you are asking for death. When they're like hanging off, taking selfies one handed off the top of the fucking tower, I was literally like, dude, I hope you die right now. People are so stupid, and that's the thing is that people really do that shit. And like people fucking do this in real life. I just feel like if you're doing this and like again, this movie pisses me off because I know that people really do that shit. But you deserve it, and it stresses me out for a lot of reasons, basically. I haven't been this really stressed watching a movie since I watched Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. And that is like a totally different stress level. It's like my anxiety is skyrocketing, but not for the same reasons. This one, I'm paralyzed, but angry.
well, since you're all angry, I should tell you that I have contributed to something like this. A couple of years ago on a motorcycle ride, we were on a dam, and one of the guys that I had just met that day, I held him by his feet and he leaned over the edge of the dam, and we got a great picture of it.
And he dropped him and he died.
No, that's the horror version of this, but that very easily could have happened.
That is what happens, Chase. You guys are fucking lucky. Okay. Now I'm even more mad.
In hindsight, it's pretty dumb, but
Yeah, no shit.
it's a great picture. He was freaked out afterwards. He's like, I don't know why I just did that. And I'm like,
Oh my God. My dad literally told me the worst story before we went to go see this blowhole. I know it's a blowhole, but we were in Maui and it was a family
like a
vacation.
geyser.
Yeah, but the family was saying we're going to the blowhole tomorrow. And I was like, I'm sorry, the what? And like, you know me, I don't like going outdoors. I'm not an outdoorsy person. So I was like, I don't know how I feel about. I was like, oh, the blowhole. And they're all telling me, like, it's really cool. It's just water coming up out of the ground, blah, blah. But then my dad proceeds to tell me like the real life horror movie that happened there with some tourist who was a dumbass and went up to get a picture and fell in the thing and got sucked into the blowhole. And I was like, like they were like, no one can get him out of there. Like he died horribly. And my dad just went into all this detail. And I was like, you guys, I don't think I'm going to the blowhole tomorrow.
Yeah.
And when we did go, I didn't go down the rocks. I just stood like 30 feet from the cliff and said, I'll stay here. You guys go there. My dad got closer than anyone. After that fucking story, I can't believe it. I've lived with people like this. I know people like this. I think that's part of the anger that I have is that why would you willingly do this? I'm not willing to die horribly for a fucking Instagram photo. And if you ever make me do that for the podcast, I quit. I will not face my fears on this show. Only in a movie, not in real life.
You're saying you're not Dangerous Danny, or what was her Dangerous D?
Dangerous D, which like
Hunter D, Dangerous.
Hunter.
I forget what her name was.
That was it, Dangerous D. And then when she said that later in the movie, I was like, Dangerous D? Who the fuck was that? I don't even care. I am always surprised with these movies that there's any sort of plot outside of the survival story. You don't really need it. Like, we really don't need anything. I guess it adds a little bit if they're able to have a hero's journey, but like with most of these, I'm all in just based on the plot device of I'm stuck on the top of something that's really high up. I'm there.
I disagree. I think the plot behind the survival is what makes it good.
Sometimes.
Because I watched that weird bear movie, Backcountry, where there's
Yes.
there's no plot. It's just they just get lost and die. Like
Oh, it's a relationship falling apart at the seams. The whole
Barely.
movie.
That movie is just it's just a guy saying I don't need directions. If that was a movie, that's what it is.
I mean, it is literally just like the worst man to ever take any female hiking. I'm surprised he wasn't a serial killer. He's like, oh, by the way, the map, I don't have it because I lied and said that I know this place really well. Also, I didn't tell anyone where we're going. Also, like all these things that just were the worst. I couldn't get over it. I was glad he got fucking murdered.
All right. You briefly mentioned your experience watching Cliffhanger.
Oh,
we
God.
need to tell this story because we were both there. This is when we were in high school. And
yes.
so
this is when we were dating in high school.
Yeah.
And this might be when I realized I have a paralyzing fear of heights. Because I don't think I was really all about it. I didn't know about it before.
I think, I definitely picked it because I grew up watching that movie. I'm like, oh yeah, I get to pick the movie. Cliffhanger.
I mean, I just knew that's the only reason I've seen like any of Stallone's movies is because of you. Like I never would have watched one, but I've now seen them. But yeah, so you decided to throw this on and I was just like, whatever, like a total innocent idiot.
And for the people who don't remember, the opening scene is a woman crossing a rope between two canyons, and then something breaks and she's hanging, and Stallone is holding her.
And then she drops and fucking dies. And let me tell you, this scene.
It's all it's all just like bird's eye view, top down.
That's what really got me. And this is really like, I will always remember that movie watching experience because we were sitting on a couch and I just remember sinking into the couch. I felt like I was in Get Out and he goes down into the sunken place. And that was how I felt. I was locked in that fucking chair. And that was the closest thing I've ever felt to like a heart attack. And I just remember being like, I don't think I can watch this movie. And I've never finished it. I have never seen that entire movie. I can only imagine how horrible it is after that. And then the other guy in the background too, smiling the whole time. I really can't get over that. That really added.
That was the whole thing I was trying to show you. Is like this horrible thing's happening, and then there's a guy smiling because he's not aware that he's on camera.
He's like, I'm in a fucking movie with Stallone. Either way, it's still like I watched that right before watching Fall again because I thought, let's give myself the old heart attack again. And it still got me, man. Not as bad as back then because it did make me feel a little bit better that I've grown as a movie watcher. But man, I will never forget that. That was the first time I think I ever smoked a cigarette because we went out on your roof and smoked a fucking cigarette because I was so stressed out, dude. That was like the most intense movie watching experience of my life, I think.
Yeah, I think that like I had never seen you react like that to anything else in the years that we've known each other. Like that was rare form. And that was probably the most like trauma I had seen in real time in my young life. Then I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like,
That was like, I mean, I've just lived a soft, nerfy, cushiony life, but that was like for a long time the most traumatizing thing that had happened to me. That or maybe like another one of these phobia movies that we'll talk about. But let me just tell you, these movies are made for me. If they want to, if you really want me to experience a full emotion at a movie, just put it based around a phobia of mine, and I'm gonna feel everything.
Okay. Okay, Max, this is gonna look a little bit worse than it is. What the hell, Hunter? Let's just go back down.
yeah. So this movie is, I mean, it's a phobia movie, and also I was really surprised at how strongly Sarah reacted to this movie because I also watched Gravity with her. And like Gravity, she was like breathing heavy that whole time. It's a little bit different because it's in space, but like that movie is anxiety ridden also.
I have not seen that movie because I'm terrified of space. It is one of the phobias on my list, Jason. That is probably the most, I think, extreme version of it that I think would really stress me out.
Well, Gravity is also a great movie because it's a solid just like 90 minutes. It's not 2.5 hours. Like it just
This
gets in,
movie,
yeah, like this is another one. It gets in, it gets out, and yeah. There's not a
you
lot of those
can't spend
nowadays.
too fucking long in a phobia movie, or I would literally have like I'd be checking into the insane asylum if any of these movies were over like an hour, hour and a half tops.
Well, it really solidified that Fall affected Sarah more than Gravity. When the movie was over, I said, "How are you feeling, babe?" And she said, "There was life before Fall, and now there's life after Fall, and I don't know how I go forward."
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If a movie about phobias is very effective, it sticks the fuck with you, man. If you're worried about this shit in real life in any form, even if it's a tiny little fear, now it's definitely gonna be on your mind a lot more.
Totally. And yeah, the whole like phobia genre movie is fascinating to me because the whole idea is like you're kind of just like swindling people to conquer their own fears. Because if you're not really that scared of it, you might not be that drawn to it. But
Unless they're effective. If they're effective,
yes,
I think the most effective phobia movies, if that's the subgenre, is the ones that, like, even if you don't have that phobia, it affects you and you might feel even just a tiny sliver of what that a person with that would
hmm,
feel. But I think that if they're effective, they're still gonna affect you in some sort of way, just not obviously as intensely as if you have the phobia, which I would know.
yeah. So like fear, or sorry, fall. Fear is a totally different phobia. uh, fall is a, in my opinion, as someone who's not scared of heights like that, it's a really effective movie. Like it's a good movie for that, adrenaline rush. I wanted to ask you because you are someone who has a lot of fears.
Lots of them.
You're kind of an expert on being scared of things.
I'm adding to the list all the time because I a lot of stuff that I see in movies, I'm like, "Huh, I didn't know that was something I should be afraid of," but I'm adding it to the list because now that I know about it, I'm gonna be on the lookout. It's like, I just am assuming that my life is gonna turn into a horror movie at one point, I just don't know which one, and now I have all these possibilities, so I wanna be prepared.
So I actually kind of wanted to throw some movies at you as a subject matter expert, let's say. You
Yeah,
know.
just call me a scaredy cat, it's perfectly fine. I still love horror movies, so I think that makes me a little bit brave, but I will, like, shrivel and just, like, turn into a puddle at a lot of these movies, so yeah.
All right. So I mean the first one, and I think it's the most obvious one because it has the word phobia in it, is the fear of spiders, arachnophobia. You
Yes.
you sent me a video, just a clip of that movie, and I actually can't remember anything about that movie. I don't have a fear of spiders. I'm the one who takes care of our spider problem.
By killing, or do you, like, let them live, like, "Hey, they're cool."
Depends on the spider.
After watching
Yeah.
Arachnophobia, you're gonna go, "You know what? I think I'm gonna kill them all."
But that clip that you sent me of the shower and the spider, I was like, "Oh,
It's
geez."
horrible, isn't it? And I think what makes that movie extremely effective is because it's the only movie that I've ever seen with spiders in them that are like, at least I haven't seen some of the older ones, but they use real spiders. They're not CGI. They do use a puppet later for like the giant thing, but they switch it off with like a giant tarantula too. So they use like mostly real spiders the whole movie, but those little ones are like the brown recluse looking things.
Mhm.
And the fact that they're real, I think that's why it's so effective because it gives you the creepy crawlies, the way that they move. I fucking hate the way spiders move without those goddamn legs. It's so upsetting. I'm getting literal goosebumps just thinking about it. I hate that that movie is so good though because I enjoy watching it now. I mean, I'm stressed the fuck out the whole time, but I enjoy it because it's still kind of a comedy. It's a very lighthearted movie. Jeff Daniels is great, and it's actually like really well done. So I enjoy it as a horror movie. It's just my number one fear, so I don't watch it all the time. But when I do, I have goosebumps and I'm sitting on the edge of my seat the whole time. If my phone vibrates, I will throw it against the wall.
I need to revisit that movie. I was curious of your thoughts on this one because I think this is an example of an unsuccessful phobia movie. Open Water.
See, for me, I agree with you, but I will say that like if I sit and think about that fear, it is terrifying. Like that's definitely an up there fear, but I think open water is just doesn't have the same stress level the whole time. It's very much like low energy for me.
You'll be very happy with my perspective on this. I actually think The Reef is the much better version of Open Water.
Agreed, and that's I think why I used to like open water and then I saw the reef and I thought open water that shit is dumb. I mean, it's a terrifying thing in the fact that it's based on a real story. Again, I'll give it to you, but the idea of being open water is terrifying. However, I think you just got to maintain the suspense a lot more in order to make these movies really effective. Like if you
Hmm.
go with too much downtime, it's really not going to work out. You need to
Yeah.
keep the stress level for these things because the phobias really work for you if you're stressed the whole time and you don't have a minute to just enjoy yourself.
Hmm. All right. Another one is like the fear of being buried alive or like confined spaces. Then the obvious one here is Buried with Ryan Reynolds. I don't think you've seen that. I've seen it. I don't have that fear. So I thought that movie was really boring and not that interesting.
You really don't have a fear of being buried alive? Like
I
if you woke up in a coffin, you're not stressing the fuck out and having a heart attack before you figure a way out.
Well, that's like asking, oh, you don't have a fear of being shot if you woke up and you were shot, would that not suck? Like, yeah, that would be terrible, but like I don't sit about thinking, am I going to wake up shot or buried alive?
Well, I don't sit around thinking it's gonna happen.
I think you do because you have a constant fear of it.
Like I have a constant fear of it, as in like I'm gonna wait and be in the right headspace before I watch Buried. I still haven't seen it strictly because I'm stressed out about the fucking fact that he's in a coffin the whole movie. I need a minute out of there. I need some fresh air. Like I that's the thing
Do you
is
need some fresh air now? Because
just thinking about it is the thing is these movies, I think I'm just you know what it is, Jace? It's like I'm just such a good person. No, because I think I'm a very empathetic person and I can really put myself in the place of others and feel what they would feel or like I'm empathetic that way. I think that's why I have so many fears because I can easily, when I'm watching one of these movies, it's like that could have been me. That could be me in that fucking coffin the whole time. Like I was thinking for another claustrophobic, The Descent,
oh yeah,
obviously.
that's a very effective one.
I that movie, I feel like I'm losing my own air the whole time. Like I feel like I can't breathe and I'm like not able to breathe. It's really stressful.
Hmm.
Like, but again, it's a different way that I react to like the one, obviously with heights, I just fucking like melt into the couch. But with spiders, I'm like, I'm on my fucking like the edge of my seat. I've got goosebumps the entire movie. And I'm like crazy laughing because I'm so scared. And then like the descent, it's like I'm like I can't breathe. So I don't know. It's just a weird different experience, but I feel like I'm having all of them.
Well, and then The Descent also has like it being scared of the dark. That whole piece
Yes.
tied into it.
Yep. I do not like that. I am very scared of the dark as well. I always had a nightlight. I'm just a giant baby still, I think. I had a couple others. I don't know about
Throw
if
them
you
at
would
me.
count them.
That was it.
Okay.
I don't have hard rules for this. This is all personal experience. This could be a movie. It could be a scene of a movie.
I guess I'm not surprised that when we're talking phobia movies, I'm like, I could have probably listed 100 more because I've got so many, but I'll keep it to the highlights. I
You were
definitely
scared of Jumanji.
Oh, dude, don't even remind me of that. Also, it's Jumanji, not Jumanji. It's not like a fungi. It's like Jumanji, MAN. Sorry, I just had
Okay.
to correct
Wow.
you. That movie is important to me now. However,
Okay.
it's horrifying. It's got like three of my biggest fears. Like the giant plant that's trying to eat the kid is horrifying. That still upsets me. As a quicksand and fucking spiders. I mean, it's just a triple whammy there. And the jungle, I think, is just a giant one. But I will say for movies, I have It because
Oh,
clowns.
clowns.
That's a big one.
I think that's where the fear of clowns was born. Was
I
from that
mean,
movie.
I
Like,
think from that book, yeah.
yeah.
But like, and the original
Yeah.
1990
Tim
version,
Curry. Yeah.
I mean, either if they didn't create it, man, they really fucking stoked it. So those ones definitely still get me. Gravity, I had because of space, obviously. Basically anything in space I didn't watch for a very long time because I was terrified. Like I was like, I can't watch Alien. It's gonna be the scariest movie ever.
Yeah.
Now I fucking love Alien and
Yeah.
Aliens and all that shit. But I thought The Shining was a great one because of the fear of isolation.
Mm.
And I think that's probably the only movie on this list that might be like over 2 hours. There's like a really long movie, but I guess that kind of fits with the phobia, right? Because isolation is like drawn out, just you going insane
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So I think that's a really good one. I also put like Cujo or like, basically any of these rabid animals, kind of giant animals, or not giant, but angry animals.
It's weird to think nowadays of like people having a fear of dogs. Like I
They
know it's
still do.
I know it's a thing, but just like there's dogs everywhere here, and like I think there's more dogs than kids, and so just having a fear dog just sounds totally weird and foreign to me. I know it's a thing. It's just not a thing that's in my immediate sphere.
Yeah, well, imagine how debilitating that must be if you have a fear of dogs in this day and age and they're fucking everywhere. I mean, good God, if I had a fear of spiders, I mean, sorry, if I had one, I do have one, a very strong one. It's like the greatest like thing I ever wanted to do in life is go to New Zealand and walk the Lord of the Rings path to Mordor and all that shit. Go to Hobbiton. I can't. I don't think I could ever do it. The spiders and shit that they got going over there, especially out in like the places where it's like Middle Earth. I don't think I could do it.
Shelob was real.
I mean, even if she
There's no
wasn't.
CGI. That's a
Okay.
real creature.
It is based on a real spider there, not a giant one, but like those are real spiders that like I mean, they're way smaller, but they're big for like America. Like those places like I just couldn't. I don't think I'll ever go there. It's so sad, but you know what? I think I'm willing to part with something that I've always wanted to do in my whole life because of my fear of spiders. If they were around way more often than they are now, I think I would kill myself. Most of these scenarios. I also thought honorable mention for the needle pit sequence from Saw 2.
Oh, yeah.
It gets me every time.
I think
It's
that sequence from Saw, like Saw has a lot of just like fucked up stuff that
nightmare
happens. But, like
scenarios.
that sequence just stands out for I don't even know exactly what it is, but like it's the fear of needles and just like being thrown into the pit. And like I feel like when she was thrown in, I felt all the needles just like poke every part of her. And I'm just like,
Oh god, and she has
oh
bare feet, and it's just the
yeah.
worst. It's so bothersome.
It's an all-timer in the
Yeah,
Saw
that one is
conversation.
too. And then I'm sure we all remember Contagion from like the beginning days of COVID. I don't know why, but we all were like, let's watch this movie that's basically like COVID and everyone dies.
I I didn't watch that movie, but like I remember it coming out, and I feel like it was just like this is just the algorithm fucking us. Like just the algorithm what for whatever platform. It's like they all agreed you should all watch Contagion right now.
It literally just like
It's like
dropped on Netflix because they're like, oh, and then it was like the most popular one being rented on like Apple Movies or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, you know what? I succumbed to it as well because I was like, and then I watched it and I was like, holy fucking shit. That movie was incredible how like well it predicted things until you get to the vaccine part and there's people fighting and killing each other to get a vaccine. And I'm like, yeah, that's the one thing that no one saw coming is that everyone's gonna go fuck the vaccine. But anyways, those are like
Anyways,
kind of the main ones that I think of
yeah.
as like they're literally like about a fear and exploiting it over and over and over again, which I guess all horror movies basically do that. But I think phobias are like, a lot of people are scared of spiders or heights or whatever. So,
Hmm.
like, usually, I mean, there's probably some very specific phobias you might have that, like,
Mm.
you could find some really weird horror movie about. But I would say these ones are so general fears that, like, they're really effective because they kind of have to be.
So I have a funny story to tell you. It's not my phobia, but it's somebody else's. There's one fear that we have not mentioned, and it's probably one of the only fears that, like, if you have this, you actively will not try to to I don't I withstand it. That's the fear of blood. I have a friend, you know him, Andrew.
He's a fear of blood.
He has intense fear of blood, like pass out seeing blood fear.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Oh, just wait. Okay. So,
Good thing he's not a girl. That's all I have
yeah.
to say.
So there's this, yeah. Well, he's married to a nurse now, so I'm sure they just don't talk about work at
She
all.
comes home just covered in blood every night and he passes out.
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
So
Huh.
so years ago, we have a group chat going, and he texts us. He's like, "Hey guys, let's go see 127 Hours."
Oh my God.
And all of us, we like text each other separately, like, "Does he know what this movie is?" Because like all the marketing was around what the story was and that it's very gory. People were throwing up at the theaters.
Oh, it's extremely upsetting, and I don't even have a fear of blood.
And so we all, as his best friends, decide to roll with this and say, yeah, let's go see this. You're great idea. Let's go see it.
This has happened to Andrew multiple times in other scenarios. I just want to put that on the record. This poor guy.
This is the first time that it was his idea.
No, I mean, he set you up perfectly. Like, I don't fault you guys at all for what you did. I think you did the right thing for sure.
So we all go to the movie. He has no clue what the story does. He did not do his own
Did he
research.
just see that it was a hiking movie and he's like, cool, outdoorsy?
Yeah. I don't even think he saw the full trailer. Like,
I mean, I would imagine he has no idea or that it's based on a true story. Like, the story is literally called Between a Rock and a Hard Place.
yeah,
Okay, sorry. Continue.
I feel like you have to actively try to not know that the story involves him cutting his own arm off.
And that's literally the only thing that anybody could tell you.
This was a rare moment. We're like, we're gonna run with this, and so we go to the theater. We sit down. We get the popcorn. We're going. And I mean, that movie is kind of a phobia movie in several ways, like getting lost, getting stuck, and
Yep.
then having to dismember yourself.
I mean, a little bit like a Castaway kind of vibe, but like
Mhm.
not on an island. But yes, another
Yeah.
fear that I didn't know I needed. This is just another reason that when my dad tells me, let's go hiking, I can say, nope, I've seen this. You read the fucking book and pointed it out to me.
So the good thing, I guess you could say, with that movie is that the gross part doesn't happen until the end, but as it starts to happen, as he starts taking the knife and he starts going, Andrew just gets up and leaves.
He left.
He leaves the theater. So we just assume like this is what we thought would happen. And so the movie ends, we get up and we go out to look for him, and he's nowhere to be found. We look over all the theater, everywhere outside. And then one of us texts him. We're like, dude, where are you? And he's texts back in all caps, I went home.
I went home. That's amazing.
And he didn't talk to us for like 3 or 4 days. Like, he was so mad that we allowed this to happen.
I mean, is he even surprised though? I mean, like I was there when and I was in on it. Like I didn't tell him either. But do you remember when you guys had that really shitty tequila and
Oh
you
yeah.
put it in your fucking water purifier to try and make it better?
Oh yeah. That's like a thing on TikTok now. People are like discovering, oh, if you put in a filter, it'll be great. It's like we were doing this 10 years ago
And it
and
didn't.
we put the worst tasting tequila in a water filter and we're like, this is better, but I don't know if it's much better because it was awful to begin with. And then we just put it in the fridge and left it. And then Andrew came and stayed at our house.
It
And
was like after a party too. Like he was like, "Oh, like I'm so thirsty," and he was like talking about that. And that was like I had just learned like hours before that you guys had done that, and I just like looked at Jordan or you, I don't remember, and I was just like, "I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say shit." And he just took the biggest sip and he fucking coughed it everywhere. It was so good. That poor man. But like, you know what? I can relate because I have very strong reactions to things, and I think people like to torture you when you react really well or really extremely, you know what I mean?
oh yeah. Well, and
Your target.
Andrew, we love you.
I get it though, like, I've also had that fear of, like, takes a hold of you and you have to just get the fuck out, like, you're just no talk, I can't tell anyone anything, I'm just gone before I even realize, like, he might not have even realized till he was sort of driving home, like, "Shit, I'm fucking on my way already, alright, later." That's
Oh.
hilarious.
Well, Renee, that's why you're like one of the most courageous people I know, is because you have a fear of everything. And so you overcome those fears
By
and
not killing myself every day.
and you constantly watch movies of those things.
Yeah, I do. I think that's my thing is that my fears have always been, like, super prevalent for me, but, like, as a child, I, no joke, had books upon books of spiders because I'm, like, horrified by them. So, like, my brain's natural survival instinct was like, "I must learn everything there is to know about spiders, and that way I can conquer them." So, like, my fear curiosity gets the better of me, and I'm like, "Let's watch Arachnophobia again." Like, I haven't seen it 10 years, can't be that bad. Are you kidding? It's still horrifying. However, great movie, so I'll still rewatch it. I've become braver because of these movies. I have a very strong affection. As much as I don't enjoy watching them, they've made me a better person, I think.
And this is why there is no mystery as to why you watch so many horror movies. It's to overcome those fears.
You're okay. Remember, only look up. What the hell are we doing?
All right, so let's actually talk about this movie, The Fall. First off, I think the biggest surprise of this movie was in the opening credits, seeing that it's a BuzzFeed Studios.
I also caught that
I was like,
again.
what? Buzz BuzzFeed?
They're making fucking movies now. You know, not bad though. I will
the
tell you, not
the
bad.
the only yeah, not bad at all. The only other time I had this experience was when I watched Oculus and I saw WWE in the opening credits. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Is John Cena gonna pop out of the mirror? What's
Thank God. I know there is always things like that. You're like, huh, that's just makes me ask questions and not focus on the movie right away.
yeah.
However, I do think the opening scene very similar to Cliffhanger, and it really
hmm
snaps you back in attention mode. I would say, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will say
Underwhelmed.
I was a little disappointed in the husband's judgment and like placing those whatever they're called, the
Yeah.
hanger things. It's like, oh, there's a hole in the mountain. I'm not going to put it in a crack like on the surface. I'm going to put my hand in this hole where a eagle or hawk or something's going to fly
I
out. Or
mean, yeah,
it might have
he
been a buzzard,
could have been
a vulture.
a lot of foreshadowing in this movie, like a lot of foreshadowing. And that also, that's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. I don't know if you know.
I did not know that.
Mason Gooding. He is one of the stars of the upcoming Scream 6. He was in the fifth Scream. He's amazing. And he was also in Booksmart. That's I think where I first
Hmm.
saw him. He's the one that Beanie Feldstein is like obsessed with the whole time.
Oh wow, I did
Yeah,
not
he's
realize
fucking
that.
handsome, and I think he's a good actor. I've enjoyed him in everything I've seen him in. This one, he's barely in it, and he dies. He falls off the fucking mountain. First off, anybody bouldering up a mountain like that without real ropes, you're a fucking insane person. And if you die that way, I mean, it's horrible. It's a horrible way to go, but like, I don't feel pity for you. I'm sorry. If that's what you choose to do with your life, you're like wanting to die that way, right? I mean, maybe that's the part of the thrill, but I don't think I'd ever get thrilled of being that close to death.
Let alone decide to unclip after you've just fallen. Oh, I'm gonna unclip and swing. Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah.
Gooding.
Yeah, he kind of deserved to die. And then you kind of get now, like a year later, the girlfriend is, or the wife, I guess. She's, drunk at a bar. Hilarious, kind of in my mind, I thought.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is her dad. He shows up for a few minutes. And I kind of love the way that he's like, your husband kind of sucks. Like, don't worry about it. And I was like, that's kind of a weird reaction. Like, we don't know anything about him except that he died like traumatically in front of her. And he's like, come on, man. Like, do you think he'd really care about you if you died? And it was like, I would hope so. What the fuck, dad? So you kind of think he's kind of a jerk at first. I mean, at least that's what I thought.
A little bit. The first thing that popped in my mind when Jeffrey Dean Morgan popped up, I was like, has he just ever since he did The Walking Dead in 2016, has he just kept that look? Like he's just kept the beard and the slick back hair. He's always been that character
I mean,
since
that's
then.
just been
It's a
his
good
look
look.
for a long time, I kind of
No,
think.
I'm just saying, like he had a mustache in Batman vs Superman, and then I saw him on Walking Dead, and it's a good look. I'm just like, he just looks like he's just had that look for the
Isn't he
past
still on
6 years.
Walking Dead doing that?
I don't know. That would imply that I watched The Walking Dead.
I
I don't
don't
know.
fucking care about The Walking Dead. I hate that's why I haven't watched The Last of Us. I'm sorry, but I think The
Oh,
Walking Dead has ruined any sort of zombie thing, TV show, apocalypse,
oh,
whatever.
Last of Us is so much better.
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
ruined The Walking Dead for Sarah. She was a big fan of it, and then I spoiled it. I'm like, hey, every season they just go to a new place and stay there for an entire season.
I mean, it's just yeah, I gave up really quick on that one, but
Anyways.
yeah, we won't I digress. This is about not Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's
So
barely in this movie. So yeah,
yeah,
let's move on.
I was honestly shocked that he came back at the end. I was like, they got him for
Yeah.
one day. Like
Yeah, of
that's what I was
course.
expecting.
Both scenes were at night. It was very quick.
So the funny thing about this movie is the premise is pretty loose. Like I like how the best friend pops back up and she's like, "Hey, you've been sulking with your husband's ashes for a year. Like, we need to get you back up on the mountain. We need to get you climbing again. Let's go climb this abandoned tower. It'll be just like old times." And like when she said that, I'm like, I I'm not a climber, but I don't think rock climbers would equate climbing a radio tower to like old times climbing mountains or even rocks. Like I'm just like,
Yeah, I
what?
don't I don't think they thought this through very much. I know she's also doing it like, for the fucking gram or whatever. Like she's gonna be live streaming or not live streaming, but like videotaping it and shit. So like cool, she's trying to risk her life for fucking fame, whatever. Some people are into that. But she's also like a crazy thrill seeker, which like from the beginning scene they kind of show it. But yeah, I mean, we don't know what other kind of I mean, these people could have been into parkour for all I know and done weird shit like that. And we just only saw them climbing a mountain one time when the husband died. So I'm not going to assume shit. However, I don't understand how this equates to any fun of any kind. It's literally climbing a fucking ladder for thousands of, I mean, it's like 2,000 feet in the air, right?
Yeah,
My feet would be, I mean, my legs would fall off. I don't think I could
it's
even make it
terrible.
up there. And the fact that, like, they don't even really consider the fact that, like, this thing has probably not been used in who knows how long. I mean, this
Yeah,
is an abandoned tower, right?
yeah.
It's rusty as fuck. It's
The
like this just was not a thought through plan at
the
all.
the whole sequence of them like climbing the ladder and it showing like the bolts and stuff like shaking loose. I was just like, are they gonna Final Destination this? Like, it felt
It
like
felt
Final
very Final Destination. Yeah. 100% agree with you.
she's like, "Is death a character? Is"
I kind of felt like, yeah, it was like, "Oh, shit." Like, everything was kind of working against him. Like, even the vultures were kind of, like, possessed by death, I felt like at the end. I don't know. It could have been this could have been a secret Final Destination movie and really, blown our fucking socks off. But no, it was
it
just 47 meters down in the sky. However, I will say, bit more effective and well shot. I thought the filming from the bird's eye view and, like, up above you and even the drone stuff, and, I mean, it's just if you're scared of fucking heights at all, it really gets you, even if you're
yeah,
not. I think it
it
puts you in that place.
oh, yeah, it's a like, there's problems with it, there's flaws with it, but, like, it's a very enjoyable movie,
Yeah.
and
Well,
the
enjoyable is a loose term.
okay,
I can
okay.
say I was I mean, I bought this movie and I've watched it twice, so I must have enjoyed myself. I will say I don't re like, I was extremely tense the whole time. Like, just really stressed out. But it is, like it's a shorter movie, it's not super long.
Mhm.
It keeps the tension, though, the entire time. Once they start climbing this thing, you're pretty much just stressed out the entire fucking time.
Okay. Oh my god. Shit. Careful. Shit. Oh my god, Hunter. Are you okay? Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
I mean, here's the first thing I thought, just as we were getting into the thick of the movie, when they're on the car ride and all this stuff. I'm just like, Hunter, calling it now. Hunter's a bad friend.
Oh, she's a terrible friend.
She's just she was like pulling all of this like bullshit, like you can do it, you can conquer your fears, like
Yeah.
you should just hang off the top of a tower with one hand and I'll take a selfie with you. Like I
It
was
was like,
you're
dude.
a bad friend. Oh, then we learned that you cheated on you seduced her husband. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, you're a bad friend.
See?
Also,
Yeah.
I will give credit though. I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, I hate you. I hate your extra schmedium shirt and push-up bra. The push-up bra actually had a point to the movie. I was surprised.
I'm glad that they did that because, yeah, I was like, this is just a pretty pointless TNA. Not mad about it, right?
Come
But I
on,
mean,
BuzzFeed.
yeah, I mean, we get it. They're going for the clicks, baby. She even says it. Like literally that's the clickbait is like
Hmm.
them climbing a fucking tower and the tits. And I was like, I kind of feel like that's also self referencing itself as the movie, right? Like
Yeah.
we also kind of had that idea. Because like I mean, as they're going up this thing, it's just so rickety. And then even when they get to the top, her asshole friend goes, "Oh, what?" And like, is that shaking? And like
Yeah.
starts fucking shaking the ladder. And she's the reason that the screw falls off.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, she's literally the worst friend. And I'm saying, like, already the things pertaining to them climbing this thing and getting stuck, it's basically all her fault every little step of the way.
Yeah.
But then you add the fact that like she was sleeping with her husband before he died tragically. I mean, that's fucked, man. That is like that's just I mean, now I'm rooting for her to die. Like I wanted her to die. I mean, at this point in these movies, I never understand why did they have to add the personal drama? Sometimes I get it. But when it's like, "Oh, I was cheating on them." It's like, "Okay, well, I know you and the boyfriend if he's alive are both dead. Like I know you're going to die." Right? And if they don't die, I'm going to be mad.
Well, and also like when she sees the tattoo on her foot and
Yeah.
she puts two and two together. I guess she puts 1 4 3 together. I'm like, she's like, how long? He's like 4 months, and it's like, you got a tattoo for a guy after 4 months?
Yeah, that's what
What?
I'm saying. Well, this chick was clearly insane. First
Yeah.
off, everything that she was doing, I was like, okay, I think this chick really wants to die. Honestly, from every scene with her, I'm just like, she's fucking videotaping in the car while driving, and almost like I was like, that got me because I was like, oh my god, there's a
That
fucking
was
truck.
that
That was
was
good.
scary. Yeah.
I will say, like, as dumb as some of the character stuff in this movie are, like, that's like a big thing I know for people. If the characters make really dumb decisions, you're like, I'm not going with it. But it's like, I don't care. It was still effective, even if they made stupid decisions that I would fucking never even be near. If I would never let myself be bullied into hanging off the fucking top of a tower 2,000 feet in the air. just so my friend would fucking shut up. I would say, you could bother me all day. I am not doing that.
I think the dumbest decision by any character in this movie is by Hunter, and it's the decision of her tattoos. Her tattoos are awful, all of
Oh
them.
yeah.
They all look like they're those old like rub on with a wet cloth tattoos. I'm just like, these are terrible. Like
Yeah.
if you're traveling the world and like doing all this stuff, I feel like you'd have at least interesting tattoos. And it's like,
Yeah. No, this bitch, I knew from the beginning. I was like, she sucks. Like, oh, you're so depressed. Like, literally, this girl's about like trying to kill herself with pills as her friend shows up. And then she's like, I'm going to make you climb 2,000 feet in the air. And I mean, granted, if we just want to say, she might actually be a good friend because by the end of it, like the main girl, she has refound her will to live, you know? So I don't know if they're promoting this kind of behavior, but I would say this is a bad friend, textbook bad friend at every
textbook.
turn.
I think it's for sure that she's a bad friend, that she becomes a better friend as a hallucination after she dies.
Yeah, except for when like the bag drops and she doesn't even go for it. And like before you know she's dead, you're like, what a bitch. What the fuck? I was like, dude, I thought I hated this bitch and now I really do. Because I think I knew that there was some stupid twist with this movie that was the same as 47 meters down.
Yeah.
I think that's why I fucking was like, I have to see this movie now. They're pulling the same shit. Like we didn't all see that movie. And so I actually forgot about it while I was watching. So then I was like, oh shit, I forgot that they're doing that thing. However, I should have been more suspicious because when you watch that scene, you're like, there's no way that bitch fucking got that thing. She definitely fell.
She's wearing Chuck Taylors and a push-up bra. She's
One
not
Chuck
equipped.
Taylor. Yeah. And she was fucking like, I mean, she was just very comfortable, like walking around that thing with absolutely like just, I mean, I couldn't believe that she didn't die 1,000 times, like literally before that.
So I really enjoyed the first 2/3 of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The last third, I thought they were just doing way too much. Like the reveal that as you say, she's been dead the whole time.
For 10 years. I've never even heard of her. Like that used to be a twist in every fucking movie.
Yeah.
And just the fact that like I love that trope and I can't believe they pulled it here. But yeah, they do that out of kind of like just do we need that at all? Does that add anything to the story for you?
No.
Not at all. I would have rather that she just died.
I think I think the movie would have been more interesting if like we knew that she landed on the antenna and like then the main girl couldn't do anything about it. Like that would be pretty tense, like if she's just dying there on the antenna.
I fell. You can't have the shoe because I didn't catch the bag. I bled out.
Also, can we talk about that antenna? Like the whole tower is barely held together, but that antenna caught Hunter multiple times. Like she fell on it multiple times.
Once fatally.
Yeah. Like, and it just seems like it's fine. And then after she pushes the body off it, then it's like, oh, now I'm gonna give up. I was only doing this for Hunter. Like,
Well, there was 2 bodies on it at that time, but yeah, I clocked that too. I was like, dude, that thing looks more rickety than anything. I
Yeah.
can't believe that thing was hanging on. I didn't even see how that was hanging on. And that was the thing, is that like I could understand them climbing a mountain again because there's a
Yeah.
lot of things you could like,
Yeah.
you know, there's ways to get out of there. But I mean, if you get up here and the ladder breaks, what was your backup? They don't have anything. What the
Yeah.
fuck? And how many 50 feet of rope? You think that's enough to get you down from 2,000 feet? You know, maybe they should have had 2,000 feet of rope just in case so that they
Yeah.
could fucking shimmy their way to the bottom.
Or I don't know, you think maybe like have a parachute. You could
Yeah,
just base
anything.
jump. Like, oh, we'll bring a drone up. That's way easier than a parachute, just a
I know.
backpack.
The drone thing too. And then I think that's where I really like was questioning it. And Nolan especially was yelling at the TV going, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Oh yeah, I'm fucking dehydrated and I can barely stand up, but I'm going to climb up a fucking pole without a rope and hold myself there for like
Yeah.
6 hours while I charge this thing." Which I don't even think you can MacGyver a charger into that. I believe you almost tried and electrocuted yourself, right?
Yeah, I tried to do the outlet thing and I could not successfully replicate it. So I don't know.
We don't recommend that at home, everyone. I mean, I guess if you're stuck on a tower, you might as well try because I'd rather be electrocuted than slowly like dehydrated. But
Also, it was weird that they're like, we need a full charge. It's like it's going. You're not flying it all day. You're flying it to the diner. It does. You could have probably been fine with a half charge.
that's what I'm saying. I just feel like there was way too many like attempts to get down that like they could have cut a lot of those. Like the drone especially was like, did we need the whole thing with the charge? It didn't even matter because when she finally flies it across, it gets wiped out by a goddamn truck. And then the guy gets out of the car, out of his giant truck, which like he probably wouldn't even notice that. He would have thought it was a bug, right? And then he just like gets out, sees the drone, and then just drives off. All the people in this movie who are not the main characters were like total assholes. Very much vibes with like The Shallows with Blake
Yeah.
Lively, and like all the guys that like come to the beach like steal her shit and like fucking try to rob her all of her shit rather than helping her. It's
Yeah.
like they do that here where they finally like flag down people and then they just break into their car and steal it. I'm like, do you really think that would happen? Are people that fucking horrible? Jesus Christ.
I thought of The Shallows too. Like, yeah, it was like a stranded movie, but yeah, I thought The Shallows did it better, and I think Fall could have been as good if they didn't do the "she's been dead" thing, because like I just feel like that was filling time. Also, I thoroughly enjoyed the vulture scene.
Me too.
I thought it was totally unnecessary though. I'm just like, she's like luring in a vulture and then just kills it, and I after that whole thing happened, I'm like, she had the energy to kill a vulture, but she didn't have the energy to fall down on the antenna thing. I was like, seems like a net zero situation where it's like I took the energy to kill the vulture and get energy, and now I'm back to where I was before I killed the vulture.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that was a lot of fucking work if you have no energy inside of you. But then it's like she used that energy not even to go down there. She used it to climb the fucking pole and do that charging thing and hold that thing in there for at least 6 hours. It's got to
No,
be to charge
that
that
was
thing, right?
that was before the vulture.
Oh,
She
you're right.
climbed the
You're
pole
right.
before she
So
she
even
ate the
worse.
vulture.
She
Yeah.
could not have had the fucking energy to take on a vulture. Maybe day 2, like at the very beginning. But she'd been up there for like 2 nights already.
And then they had that weird moment where she rappelled down and stared the other vultures in the eye like
That
she had
was
the eye
great.
of the tiger. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
loved
what
it.
what are we supposed to take from this moment?
She was like, "I'll fuck you the fuck up," with her eyes, and that vulture was like, "Not worth it. Did just see you rip my friend apart and eat him raw, fucking vulture. That was nasty." However, I'm all about it. It was like, I love that in The Descent when like the main chick becomes like fucking
Yeah.
Rambo
Yeah.
and starts like taking things out. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love to see a chick like make the transformation, and this chick was always the timid one. But I think if they would have played into that more and not made her so insane that she imagined her friend, because at least like as much as I really didn't like that, and again, I think it kind of muddles the ending when they do that. Like with 47 meters down, I still can't even quite remember what the fuck the real ending was because I'm like, they get out of the water like 3, 4 times. She imagines half of it. Her sister's dead. I don't really remember. But again, they at least have the bends and they really lay into
Yeah.
the bends on that movie and how that will make you go psychotic. So they at
Mhm.
least set it up. Whereas this is like, does this really happen if your mind just breaks when you see a dead body? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere.
It feels
It
supernatural
seemed
almost.
like a twist for the sake of having a twist.
Exactly.
There was a thing that because I was expecting a twist. I didn't know what the twist was, but I was expecting a twist, and I was like trying to go as crazy as I could with what could happen. I was like, I
Mhm.
don't think this will happen, but man, I would love it if it did. They had that one line about they were like, "Isn't this a decommissioned tower?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're like, "Why is there a light?" It's like, well, so planes don't run into it. And I was like, when she took the light bulb out, I was like, oh my God, what if this movie ends with a plane running into the tower and killing everyone? Like,
It'd be pretty fucking incredible.
that would have been an incredible twist ending.
See, yeah, but then I think it's because I just assumed I should have known, of course, that this movie would have a similar twist to 47 Meters Down
Yeah,
because I think it's one of the same producers. It's
yeah,
not the same people, but still, he must have
essentially.
been like, "Hey, that really worked with that one. You know, that one really works." I guess if people are delirious, they hallucinate, but again, I just feel like it didn't they didn't even really sell it because they keep that whole bit going for a while, but it's like things like when she doesn't reach for the bag when it drops and like she doesn't
Hmm.
help with anything, you're like, why is she not doing anything? When she asks her questions like, I thought you didn't know about that. And she's like,
Yeah,
just doesn't respond. I'm like, okay, I feel like you guys are really beating us over the head with it. Whereas like 47 meters down, they didn't like they kind of kept it more of, like, where you assumed she was still alive. She,
yeah,
like, came back.
yeah. 47 meters down was a pretty good twist. Like they kind of laid the pieces, but it wasn't so obvious. This they made it like pretty obvious for a while.
Yeah.
Like, why is your friend piloting the drone that you own?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I mean, I know her hands were supposedly fucked up, but, like
your thumbs are fine.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. This movie just didn't really commit to any of those, like, things at the end. I feel like it would have been a little bit better if it had.
It's a fun watch.
It's a fun movie. I mean, it's we're critiquing it like it could be like I mean, that would make it a really good movie, but I mean, it's a B movie. That's what it wants to be. Literally. And it is, I think. I think it's a really like well executed version of what
We
it
had a
wants to
great
be.
time with it.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it because I wasn't sure if you really aren't scared of anything, specifically heights.
No, this was a good heights thriller movie. Like for comparison, I don't think of Cliffhanger as like a fear of heights movie. I think of it as an action movie with rock climbing.
I haven't seen the rest of it.
I thought this was a really good like heights thriller. I had a really good time with it. Definitely has its flaws, but the flaws, if anything, make it a little bit more fun.
It makes it just more of like, oh yeah, this is a B movie.
And if you are scared of heights, trigger warning. Be very cautious of watching this movie if you haven't yet.
Yeah, I would definitely like I mean, I think I'm just like I like to punish myself or something or torture myself, but if that's a trigger for you, I will give you that warning because you might go to the sunken place as well.
I might have to drug Sarah just so that she can sleep tonight. Like I don't know if she did last night, but I might have to drug her just to help her. She's
That-
still scared of it.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.